Welcome to our bonus video. Before we dive into our training, we are going to make sure we're all on the same page with preschool STEAM and what does STEAM exactly mean and why do I say STEAM instead of STEM or STREAM. We'll cover all that in this very short bonus video. Before we go into what the actual definition of STEAM is, just a little bit about myself for those of you who don't know who I am. My name is Jamie Hand. I am creator here at Preschool STEAM. I'm also one of the co-authors of the best-selling Amazon book STEAM Kids. I'm a certified art instructor, so our paths may be a little different there, that I actually started my STEAM journey in art, but I have experience teaching from ages 3 through adult, and I've taught both inside the classroom as well as teaching students and adults online. So it's this wide variety of teaching experience that has led me along this STEAM journey. So let's define what STEAM is. Some people say STEM, some say STEAM, some even say STREAM, which I've seen used different ways. And the latest one I just saw a few weeks ago was MEDALS. So we know these are all different acronyms. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. But a lot of us agree that the arts and creative thinking and problem solving and all of that is part of STEM as well. And because my background is art education, I'm always advocating for the arts. And so the A in STEAM adds the arts into that acronym. Now STREAM, as I said, I've seen it used two ways. One for religion. So if you are a faith-based program, you may want to use STREAM. But I've also seen the R stand for reading to tie in literacy into STEM or STEAM. And then most recently, I saw the acronym MEDALS, which changes the acronym around, but that is Mathematics, Engineering, Technology, Arts, Literacy, and Science. So they really wanted to get the L in for the acronym as well. And to be honest, our acronym could get bigger and bigger and bigger because really STEM or STEAM or MEDALS, whatever you want to call it, we are all talking about the same thing. Our goal with STEAM is to encourage students to build knowledge about the world around them through observing, asking questions, and investigating. Throughout our upcoming training, you will hear me say our goal is to help students be curious and ask questions. That's what we want them to do. And so to be honest, it doesn't matter what acronym you want to use. You could say STEM, you could say STEAM, you can call it MEDALS. It doesn't matter. Use what acronym works best for you, your students, and your program. If you're a director or admin or your parents really like the word STEM and they're familiar with that, then use the word STEM. Now, as I said, I use the acronym STEAM because I'm always advocating for the arts. So that is my personal choice. You can choose what works for you. Now, why is STEAM important, especially in early childhood? Well, if you think about 20 years ago, how much our world has changed in the last 20 years. I mean, to be honest, I never thought I would be teaching other educators online. I mean, that's just kind of crazy. It's not something I grew up thinking, oh, that's what I want to do. We don't know what type of technology or what the future is going to look like for these young preschoolers or young thinkers that are inside our classrooms. So we have to prepare them for an unknown future. And how do you do that then? Well, that's where the skills that when we're using STEM or STEAM activities, we are building up those problem solving, creative thinking, critical thinking skills to help the students no matter what they grow up to be, whether it's a doctor, a small business owner, or some other type of technology that doesn't even exist right now, we are giving them those foundational skills of how to be a thinker and be a problem solver. There's a quote from Kathy Davidson, who's a professor at Duke University. She says, by the time today's preschooler enters the workforce, 65% of the jobs that will be available do not even exist today. So think about it. 65% of the jobs do not even exist today. This is why we are including STEAM into early childhood. We need to give those children the skills so that they can be the innovators, the creators, and the makers of our future world. So what does STEAM look like in early childhood? Well, one, the activities are open-ended activities. There's more than one right answer, and the importance is on the creative process or the journey rather than just the final outcome. And as the teacher, you are more a guide or facilitator to prompt your students into further their thinking and problem solving. So you don't necessarily just tell them, yes, that's right, no, that's wrong, but you help guide them and prompt their thinking so that they can come to their own conclusion. So STEAM is about creating activities that integrate all the different disciplines of science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. It's not about just doing science during science time or math during math time. It's about how can you integrate that throughout everything you do. Now, for this beginning video, I am going to dive into kind of the definitions of each discipline. And then in video 1, we're going to get into more about how you integrate all of this into your existing curriculum. And we'll make it step by step super easy. Okay, so right now though, I'm going to go through the different disciplines just to give a little background knowledge for you. So let's start with science. Science is the process of learning about and understanding the natural world. And this is where we can use experiments to help develop those science skills like observing and describing what they notice and comparing results. So science at the early childhood level, they are just beginning to develop these skills. Technology. This is one of the biggest misconceptions about STEM or STEAM. When you hear the word technology, you automatically think of the latest and greatest electronic. Well, electronics are a part of technology, but the basic definition of technology, it actually refers to the use of tools. That's right, technology means tools. So we're talking about the tools that help us in our everyday world. And that's where electronics are an example of a tool that help us. But there are many other types of tools you use, especially in early childhood. So for those of you that are worried about having to add more screen time into your classroom, you do not have to add any screen time in order to meet some technology standards. So, as I said, technology refers to the use of tools. A tool is something that helps make our job easier. So yes, we have electronics like an iPad that helps us make a job easier. It makes it more convenient than getting on a big computer. However, there also are tools like a pair of scissors that helps us cut paper. That is a tool, which is a technology integration. Even a pencil, it helps us write and communicate. That is a tool. So you can see that even in early childhood, you are using a lot of technology integration. Another example of different tools that we use are simple machines. As I've already mentioned, we have the scissors, but then gears, wheels, pulleys, all of that help integrate technology into early childhood. Digital cameras and tablets are also another way you can integrate technology, but you do not have to have those tools to get started with technology in your early childhood classroom. Engineering. Engineering is the process of building and designing to solve a problem. So we're solving a specific problem with engineering. Engineering activities, these regularly and already happen inside your classroom. When you think about children playing with blocks, even as simple as stacking a tower, children are already exploring engineering concepts such as gravity, balance, shapes, and they are already problem solving. If the tower falls down and they go to rebuild, they may do it a little differently to try to get it even taller or to stand even longer. So children naturally already think like engineers. And so it's our job as teachers to help facilitate this thinking. The arts. As I said, the A in STEAM stands for the arts, not just visual art. So that does include music, theater, drama, dance. All of that can be included under the arts. Now, I will admit I'm a little biased. My background is visual art, and so I tend to do a little more visual art. But we are talking about all the arts. And the idea of the arts is it makes learning visible. We're able to help communicate ideas. Children can express themselves through self-expression and just learning different ways to make different marks or make different sounds or do different body movements. These should be open-ended activities that allows children time to experiment. And as I've already said, the music and drama and even dance are all a part of the A. Math. Math is the process of understanding relationships when we're talking about patterns and numbers and shapes. And mathematical thinking can easily be incorporated into play, whether it's block play, dramatic play, sensory play, outdoor play. There are so many opportunities to bring in those mathematical concepts as children are playing. So that's one of the great ways to help integrate STEAM throughout the day. Now, there's one more discipline I'm going to add in. If I had to make my own acronym, it would be STEAMS with an S on the end. Because in early childhood, sensory play is so super important. And so that's where I feel it is part of STEAM. Sensory exploration, it helps children build a foundation in observing and then describing what they sense. Whether they can touch something, they can see something, hear something, and when appropriate, taste something. It is these basic senses that are how our children explore and how they process and understand new information. If you think of a baby, the first thing they do is put in their mouth. That is how they are experimenting and finding out about the world around them. Their first instinct is to use that sensory and to put it in their mouth to see if it's food. It's a survival skill. But even though we grow out of the putting everything in our mouth, although not all the time by preschool, but hopefully a majority, but that is how children process. So when we're talking about STEAM activities, always be thinking about how can we add sensory into the activity? How are children going to be able to see this? How can they touch it? And as I said, when appropriate, how can they even taste it? So that's why it's good to plan a variety of activities that can include these different senses. So overall, STEAM, or whatever acronym you want to use, is about exploring, working together with your students to answer their questions. Remember, we have two goals with STEAM. We want our students to be curious and ask questions. And so as the facilitator, as the teacher, the educator, you are going to be exploring and working with your students, and you're going to help them discover and try to answer some of the questions they have. Now, coming up in video 1, we are going to introduce how you can do this with our 4E STEAM Experience Framework. It sounds pretty fancy schmancy, but rest assured, we break it down and make it super simple about how you can integrate all of this into what you already do in the classroom. In fact, even from this bonus video here, you may be saying, oh, I already do that. I already do that. We're going to tell you how you can tie it in together and create this awesome, unbelievable STEAM experience for your students. So be on the lookout for video 1, how to add STEAM into your existing curriculum, and we'll break it down and make it super simple so you can get started right away. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching this introduction video. If you have any questions, go ahead, put them in the comments below, and happy STEAMing!